Joining us right now is former Homeland Security Special Agent in charge, former FBI Bin Laden unit member John Torres. John, thanks very much for joining us. What about that? You just heard the killer's brother and this just, unknown in terms of what the motive is. What do you think was happening here? What drives a 64-year-old retiree, no real criminal history, no known affiliations to terror groups, to kill 59 people?
Well, looking at it from the outside here, it is truly bizarre to take a look at someone that would do this kind of carnage and kill so many people. Usually, as you were saying earlier, there are a number of different reasons why they would do something like this, and usually it's either politically motivated, religious motivations, or they pledge to some sort of group. In this case, I can assure you that law enforcement is going to be really looking with a microscope at this guy's life and taking a look at what could really have triggered this type of attack.
Yeah, Michael Balboni, how do you see it?
So, John, they're talking a lot about how could this guy have gotten these weapons up into the room, and yet we know that there was a gun show in Vegas, and it really becomes the question, so what could law enforcement have done ahead of time to try to prevent this thing from happening? In your experience, how real-time is social media information, or police and law enforcement, or folks who were actually at the hotel, how real is that in terms of preventing something like this from happening?
It really is becoming much more critical in today's law enforcement. We've seen a shift over a number of years, especially recently, in being able to monitor and scrape social media, especially to set geofences around certain areas when there's a big event going on, to take a look at what is going on. In this instance, if this person's not on social media and he's not communicating with people and he truly is a lone wolf, it becomes more difficult, but it is a tool that law enforcement needs to take advantage of.
John, it's Dagan McDowell. Based on reports that the police found tannerite, that's an explosive that detonates when shot by bullets used in target practice. Also, they found more ammunition and ammonium nitrate, a fertilizer that can be used to make explosive, found in the murderer's car. Can you read into that at all? Does that tell us anything? Because, again, this profile so far, it doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up, but when you take a look at all of those items that were in his possession, it's obvious that he's looking to do some sort of damage that's incredible, of a bizarre nature here. And one of the things that's going to be most important in an instance like this, where you allegedly have this lone wolf acting out there, is what were the warning signs? What did his friends and associates know? What was he telling his girlfriend, who is currently overseas? When did she leave to go overseas? Was it just before this was going to happen, or was that a trigger that caused him to do something like this? So there are a number of different things that law enforcement are going to look at.
So this is what they're looking at now to help determine why he carried out this massacre. What will give them the most clues? I mean, what about those vehicles that they were looking for as well? And why, I mean, what do we know about his companion being in Japan right now?
So starting with what law enforcement is going to look at first, they're going to do a complete review, a forensic review of all his electronics, his phones, his computers. They're going to forensically take a look at his vehicle, a search warrant of all his possessions, his residences, property that he owns. They're going to look at his travel records. They're going to look at literally everything and turn this guy's life up, inside out and upside down. As for the girlfriend, obviously she was living with him, talked to him. She's going to know what his personality was like, what his political leanings were, what were his triggers that would make him mad. I can assure you that they're going to want to talk to her as quickly as possible if they're not doing that already.
John, this is John Hilsenrath from the Wall Street Journal. What can you tell us about the way that this individual chose to take out these attacks, taking out a hotel room, sneaking up all of his weapons into the room, and scoping out this venue? How does law enforcement need to respond to an attack like that? In the past, people have tended to use explosives. This guy took a totally different approach to doing this.
Well, it's an incredible amount of premeditation and obviously planning to rent a hotel room with a clear view, unobstructed to the venue, to be able to disassemble and or hide that amount of weapons to bring into the hotel without being noticed. And then also to have a view of this venue for 3 days while this festival is ongoing. And so what that tells law enforcement is that they have to take a look at changing and using the best practices, especially with what the Secret Service uses for national security special events. There are designations out there for large events. Obviously, that type of security is very expensive, but you can take some of those best practices, especially coordinating with the business community, sending out red flags, similar to if you have a person that comes in and has a view of a venue like this, and he's not the type of person that wants to have someone come in, especially the cleaning crew. If something like that is happening, you certainly want to put the notification out there to law enforcement so that you can actually maybe come in and interview the person or take a closer look.
Right. John, thanks very much for your insights this morning.